okay to overthrow a democratically elected government? Is it okay?
It depends on what your national security interests are.
Are you denying that Pinochet caused huge suffering in that country?
I don't buy. That he committed crimes, I agree.
Mm-hmm. But it's worth it.
Huh?
Is that what you're saying? Those crimes are worth it?
Yeah. Sometimes, unfortunately, things have to be changed in a rather ugly way.
Levántate y mira la montaña, de donde viene el viento, el sol y el agua. Tú que manejas el curso de los ríos.
By the late 70s, most of Latin America was controlled by dictators, including those like Pinochet, who were openly fascist. All of them were backed, directly and indirectly, by the United States. They sent their henchmen to be trained here at the School of the Americas in Georgia. Officially, it was described as little more than a Boy Scout camp, teaching American values such as respect for human rights. In fact, from these manuals were taught interrogation and torture techniques. Major Joseph Blair taught at the School of the Americas in the early 1980s.
The doctrine that was taught was that if you want information, you use physical abuse, you use false imprisonment, you use threats to family members, you use virtually any method necessary to get what you want.
Torture?
And killing.
Kill them.
Killing. If there's someone you don't want, you kill them. If you can't get the information you want, if you can't get that person to shut up or stop what they're doing, you simply assassinate them, and you assassinate them with one of your death squads.
This is a death squad in action in El Salvador. Actually, it's the National Police, many of whom were trained at the School of the Americas. Here on the steps of San Salvador Cathedral, they're gunning down mourners attending the funeral of Archbishop Romero, who was murdered as he said Mass on March the 23rd, 1980. This man, Robert d'Aubusson, gave the order to kill the Archbishop. Major d'Aubusson was Washington's dirty secret in El Salvador. He was trained at the School of the Americas. According to the Truth Commission and a whole swathe of human...
well, come on, John. This is where we're going. You're wasting my time.
Well,
that's all bullshit. Those people all had agendas.
So it was bullshit that the Salvadorian military were murdering tens of thousands of people.
I bet you can't count more than 200 in the whole 10 or 12 years.
We can count 200 in this one village alone. They were mostly women and children, systematically murdered in just one day and night in December 1981 in the village of El Mazote. The killers belonged to a special battalion of the El Salvador Army, trained by the United States. There were few survivors.
Vio que las mujeres se abrazaban llorando y gritando que no las mataran. Yo, por estar peleando por mis hijos, no los quería dar, no los quería dejar yo, decía que me moriría con ellos, pero me los quitaron de mis brazos. Cuando se oía que estaban matando a los niños por la noche, se oían los gritos de los niños y les gritaban a sus mamás y a sus papás.
You're taking the stuff from these propaganda mills. And I'm not interested.
What are the propaganda mills?
All these things, this truth thing and all that, they're nothing but propaganda mills.
Do you really think
I
they're...
know so. You have...
Are they all conning us, lying us?
Yeah,
Amnesty
of course they are.
International?
Amnesty International is right in the middle of it.
During the 1980s, the years of Ronald Reagan in the White House, a trail of carnage and grief was blazed across Central America. I reported America's war against Nicaragua, which had the temerity to overthrow a Washington-backed dictator, Somoza. The CIA attacked Nicaragua with death squads known as the Contra. Why did Washington attack such tiny countries? Because the weaker they are, the greater the threat. People who can free themselves against all the odds are sure to inspire others. What right have you, when I mean you, the CIA, the United States government, or any foreign power, what right do you have to do what you do in other countries? What
National
right?
security interests.
But that's a divine right, isn't it? Because the people that you do it to have no say in this.
Yeah, well, that's just tough. We are going to protect ourselves, and we're going to go on protecting ourselves because we end up protecting all of you. And let's not forget that.
Right. Right? No, I won't.
We'll intervene whenever we decide it's in our national security interest to intervene. And if you don't like it, lump it. Get used to it, world. We're not going to put up with nonsense. And if our interests are threatened, we're going to do it.
In Guatemala, the United Nations described the Washington-backed campaign against the Mayan people as genocide. An American Roman Catholic nun, Sister Diana Ortiz, experienced this at first hand as a missionary. In 1989, after speaking out about the brutal treatment of the indigenous people, she was kidnapped.
In 1989, November 2nd, I was abducted and I was put in a police car, blindfolded, and taken to a military installation in Guatemala City, known as the Polytechnica, which still exists today. I was taken to a basement, and I still remember to this day, upon entering the building, the clandestine prison, hearing the screams of people being tortured. Can we stop?
For 24 hours, she was tortured and gang raped. During her ordeal, she identified the leader of the gang as a fellow citizen of the United States.
I came out a totally different person, but also with new eyes and more attuned to the hurting, the brokenness, the oppression, the deceit of my government. I've heard people say that what happened in Abu Ghraib is an isolated incident. And I have to just shake my head and say, you know, are we on the same planet? You know, aren't you aware of our history? You know, isn't history taught in the classroom about, you know, the role of the U.S. government in human rights violations?
By the late 1980s, Washington's policy changed. Dictators like Pinochet were seen as an unnecessary embarrassment. A new and innovative way of controlling nations was launched.
Good morning and welcome. It's good to have you all here to help celebrate the launching of a program with a vision and a noble purpose. The National Endowment for Democracy is, just as we've been told, more than bipartisan. The establishment of the National Endowment goes right to the heart of America's faith in democratic ideals and institutions. It offers hope to people everywhere.
Like any new brand, it had a snappy name: democracy. It was largely fake, an illusion of marketing and spin. This brand of democracy meant that whoever you voted for, the policies would be broadly the same, and your country's economy would be in step with the United States. Washington would be your closest friend, or else. In the 1990s, these democracies in name replaced dictatorships in Latin America, with Chile providing the model. This is the commercial center of Santiago, Chile. On the surface today, everything seems normal, modern, prosperous. To the Bush administration, Chile is the very model of economic success. A laboratory experiment, according to the magazine Business Week. Much of life has been privatized. There are now billionaires, and the rich are getting richer.
Pinochet fixed the country.
Who says? The United States says.
No. The World Bank says, the Inter-American Bank says, everybody says it. He brought about an economic miracle in Chile. And I'm not saying he had the brains for it, but he had the brains to hire all these people, Chileans, who had studied at the University of Chicago, who knew something about real economics.
Real economics were advocated by Milton Friedman, an extreme right-wing economist at the University of Chicago. Friedman was invited to perform his laboratory experiment on the economic life of Chile. The families of the tortured and disappeared were silent witnesses. Without irony, he called his experiment shock treatment.
Please be seated. Well, thank you all very much. It's an honor for me to be here to pay tribute to a hero of freedom, Milton Friedman. He has used a brilliant mind to advance a moral vision. We have seen Milton Friedman's ideas at work in Chile, where a group of economists called the Chicago Boys brought inflation under control and laid the groundwork for economic success.
This is the other side of the economic miracle. Chile today is a deeply unequal society. This shanty town is just minutes from Santiago's smart hotels.
Hay tantos cesantes, hay miles de cesantes, los jóvenes, y el que trabaja no alcanza para nada. ¿Y con qué paga la luz? ¿Con qué paga el agua? Hay que comprar el gas, todas las cosas que hay que comprar. Diariamente la mamá dice, ¿qué hago para la comida de los niños? ¿De dónde saco dinero?
We found this couple living and freezing in the shantytown. They're homeless and have a week-old baby.
Si usted puede describir un poco cómo es vivir en estas condiciones.
Para empezar, el frío en la noche.
Difícil.
El frío en la noche es súper difícil. Por mi guagua tuvimos que prender la cocina.
¿Cuánta gente en Chile vive de esta manera?
En realidad,
yo creo que mucha gente.
Y en peores condiciones que nosotros. Pero hay gente que simplemente no recibe ayuda porque no nomás, porque no hay ayuda para...
¿A dónde se van a ir entonces?
A la calle. Vamos a dormir en la calle otra vez, pues, si hemos dormido en la
¿Ya hemos
calle.
dormido en la calle?
En el extranjero, en Europa y en Estados Unidos y en otros lugares se dice que